Do you think you would have died without your daughter?
Yeah, I think I would have. I think I probably would have at some point been so strung out on drugs that I probably would have ended up overdosing.
Suddenly these memories came back and you had a panic attack.
I had been holding on to something for my entire life. I had been by my stepdad. Hey everyone, I'm Amanza and I'm in great company. I did Deal or No Deal.
You just open up the box.
Every time I open my case, my mouth opened with it.
I'm going to announce it. Okay. So, Amanza, open your case. Why?
Because you got to peek. You got to peek.
You...
So I was the only black kid in my whole community. My biological father's black, my mom's white. When I was a freshman in high school, I had a boyfriend, and I would call this boy's house, and the dad answered the phone and told me that he couldn't come to the phone and not to call the house anymore. And his brother said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "My dad went to the basketball game last night, my mom and dad, and they saw you, and they saw that you were black, and they don't want his older brother to date me."
Wow. You know, when I do these interviews, right, we do like a lot of research, and we go, your life is so fascinating, like crazy highs, crazy lows, like it's
lived a colorful life.
Yeah, and then meeting you now, especially with someone with your kind of experience, what's happened, you have a really great energy about you.
Thank you.
You really do.
It's the Adderall.
It's the Adderall. I
No,
love the dose.
it's not. I actually have not even taken Adderall in months.
But you do, right? And like, I think you sort of personify like a real survivor in every sense of the word, which is kind of amazing.
Thank you.
For those people who don't know, where did you grow up?
Vincennes, Indiana.
What was it like?
It's a very small town. It's a farm community. Like we have a day every year in school called Agriculture Day, where people actually they drove their tractors to school. I swear to God, they drove their tractors to school. They wore like Carhartt, like farmer gear, and they painted one hand green. My hand is orange. I wasn't gonna show. I put fake tan on last night and I didn't quite wash it, so my hand's orange. But for Agriculture Day, they would paint one hand green and they would drive their freaking tractors to school. So I was the only black kid in my whole community. My biological father's black, my mom's white, but I was raised by my white stepdad and my white mom, white cousins, white friends, white, everybody was white. And I had like an afro and was this little black kid in this very slow farm town. A lot of racism. Yeah, that's Vincennes, Indiana. It hasn't changed too much, to be honest. I don't go back a lot.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a really small town. I think there was 25,000 people, and that included like the junior college where there was like 3,000 or 4,000 kids.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was we had a lot of
wild
train tracks and yeehaw.
But was it when you experience something like racism, right? Is it one of those things because? And look, coming from someone who is white and hasn't experienced it, right? So I'm just asking questions here. Is it one of those things where you don't realize it's racism until you get older because you were the only?
Oh no, I knew it was.
You knew it straight away.
I knew it. The N word was a big.
Wow.
There. I knew it.
So it wasn't just kids having a joke; it was full on.
Full on, like in kindergarten, like people, because I looked a lot blacker when I was a kid. I had a full afro, and I stuck out like a sore thumb. And so, like on the bus in kindergarten, they would make fun of my skin. They would make fun of my hair, and then it was such a small school, though. You get your friend group. I was quite popular because I was really good at gymnastics. I got really good at gymnastics, and I think that that was my in. But in high school, I felt it the most. When I was a freshman in high school, I had a boyfriend, and in high school, you call I'm gonna age myself. You call them the house phone. We had house phones.
Yeah.
We didn't
Or
have
used
cell
to
phones.
page. Do you
Oh
know
yeah,
what I
yeah. I
mean?
had a pager.
Yeah.
But and I would call this boy's house. That's how that was our relationship, you know. And then when school started, like I would call there all the time. And then when school started, I was a cheerleader and he played basketball. And the very first game, his parents, I guess, came to the game, and I called his house like after that night when we got home, and the dad answered the phone and told me not that he couldn't come to the phone and not to call the house anymore. But I didn't know, like I still didn't know what that was. The next day at school, like his younger brother was in my class. He was a couple years older than me, and his brother said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "My dad went to the basketball game last night, my mom and dad, and they saw you, and they saw that you were black, and they don't want his older brother to date me anymore." So there was like that type of racism.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really full on.
Yeah.
How does that?
Oh my God, I was devastated.
Yeah, as a
I was
young
heartbroken.
teenager experiencing that.
Yeah. So when I had kids, I wanted to make sure. I mean, we're in Los Angeles, but my son was born in Laguna Beach, and there wasn't a lot of black people in Laguna Beach. We were like the token black family. When we first moved, I was like, everybody is so friendly. When we like for the first month, my husband and I, and my daughter was already born, and I was pregnant, and they'd be like, "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Brown." I'm like, this place is amazing.
I love it here.
Every time we go to eat, they know who we are. Like a month in, I was like, fuck, we're the only ones. So when my son was born,
This place is so
so friendly and it's beautiful. It's like Laguna Beach is the place to be. And then when my son was born, I was at the park one day, and my son was still like in the buggy. And my daughter, I'm pushing her in the swing. She wasn't quite 2. And a lady came up and she was like this to my daughter's hair, and I was like, we've got to get out of Laguna Beach, because I didn't want my kids to grow up the only ones. I didn't want them to be in their class and be the ones with different hair, and now it's Laguna Beach is, I mean, this was only 13, almost 14 years ago. It's changed a bit. There's like more culture, but I was like, we have to go back to LA. I can't have my kids be the only ones.
Yeah, and it's triggering, that is, as well.
Yeah. And so we moved back to LA, and now, I mean, my kids, they don't even, it's not that they don't recognize race, because they do. They have but they have so many different friends. Like they've experienced so many different holidays that from different cultures. And I think it's so beautiful.
How does that manifest, like in terms of like what it does to a young child when you experience something like that? What happens to you? What does it do to you mentally? Does it lose your confidence? Can you speak to your friends about it? Who do you even talk to?
Yeah, I talked to my friends about it. It was, I definitely struggled with self-confidence. I was never the pretty girl like in school, because I wasn't the type of pretty that people were used to in my hometown. So I have like the cool, like ugly ducklings, like I blossomed later. And I think, I don't know. I mean, I would never change anything. I think it's made me who I am. I'm very humble. But it definitely, I struggled with like my hair. I hated my hair. There was just a multiple things that made me self-conscious that I wasn't, super crazy about, but grew out of it.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, I know. But it's also, the trickiest thing is when we're kids, all we just want to do is fit in. That's all we're trying to do all the time. Like whatever that is, we just want to fit in all the time. And if people are making you feel that you can't fit in, it's like the worst thing that can happen to you, because then you just feel alien.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I mean, that was it. That was one experience with the boy. But my friend group, because my school was so small, everybody was friends. Like, and like I said, I was really good at gymnastics, so that gained me some popularity. But we had I graduated with basically the same 72 kids that I went to kindergarten with.
That is wild.
Yeah. It was really small. And I was always, I think, meant for a bigger city. I mean, obviously, I didn't really fit in. Not just because I was black, but like, I needed more action. I needed more like hustle bustle, like a little more edge. I think when I moved to Los Angeles, I felt like, okay, this is at least a good start to something.
Why did you decide? When did you decide to go?
I think, well, I had been a cheerleader for the NFL, for the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, and I got like a taste of like the spotlight, and it felt really good. And so I liked it. I liked entertaining. I've always liked to dance, to perform, but that's about as big as you can get in Indianapolis. So I was like, I just want to move to a bigger city. I literally decided on a Friday, like for sure I was going to go to LA. And I told my friends, like, if you want to see me, come and say bye because I'm leaving. I think I decided on Friday and I left on Saturday and literally packed everything that I could into a Jeep Wrangler and we drove across country 36 hours to LA. I'd never been
Get
to
outta
LA.
here.
I didn't know anybody. Yeah.
That is wild.
With my boyfriend, Brad.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I had a car at the time. I left my car in Brad's cousin's driveway. I just guess I'll stop paying for this and just move to LA.
Wait, that is wild. So hang on a second. So you and Brad
Harper.
Brad Harper. Was Brad Harper hot?
At the time, I thought he was.
Okay, so you and Brad Harper, you're like, hey, Brad, I think we should go to LA.
No, it was like Brad and I were going to break up. And I was like, I'm going to move to LA. And I don't think that long distance is going to work. So you can either come with me or we can break up. So Brad decided to move too.
Wow.
We lasted like 5 months. I
It's
think.
not bad.
Yeah, Brad's a dick.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He ended up cheating on me afterwards with like my two best friends. Yeah, Brad Harper.
What?
Harper. Like, I don't know. I heard that he was chubby and doing real estate in Indiana last I heard, so I'm sure he's.
Hey, you prick.
I hope he loves watching Selling Sunset.
Wait, hang on. How did you? I need to go into this quickly. So wait, how did you find out Brad cheated on you?
Oh, it's so sad. We had moved in. Our friends Paul and Susanna moved from Indiana also, so the four of us got an apartment. So when Brad and I broke up, like I couldn't stay because I couldn't afford to pay our half of the rent. It would be divided by 3 and I couldn't afford it. So I was like couch surfing to friends that I had met, barely knew anybody. I used to like hook up with the bartender at this restaurant that I was waiting tables at just so I could stay all night sometimes. It's so sad. This was years ago.
I'll go do this.
Yeah. And then one night he wasn't working and Brad had said, if you ever need to stay here, like I still had a key and I could come. And so it was like pouring rain. It was like 2:30 in the morning, whatever. I'd gotten off work at my job and I went to the apartment and I like snuck in and I went to the hall closet to get a blanket to sleep on the sofa. And let me give some backstory. My two best girlfriends that had been cheerleaders with me, Sonia and Michelle, they had moved out a few months after me. So they had their own place and they were friends. They all were still friends with Brad. So I sneak in and there's no blankets in the hall closet. So I like go to push the bedroom door to like get a blanket out of what was our bedroom. And he was in bed with both of my best friends. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was
Jesus.
that was a big one.
Oh. Does it still hurt?
No.
It doesn't.
It doesn't hurt. I mean, yeah, I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
I love that they'll probably watch this.
Yeah. There was a moment you said when you had your daughter and you went to your parents' house, you went to your stepdad and your mum's house, and your daughter was playing in the other room, and suddenly these memories came back and you had a panic attack.
Yeah.
First time. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I was actually at my best friend Jamie's house and I had been holding on to something for my entire life, buried it deep down, thought I was okay with it. made myself be okay with it. And that was the fact that I had been sexually molested by my stepdad. So from the time I was 3 until the time I was 11, I was molested by either my stepdad or my step-grandpa. And my stepdad walked me down the aisle at my wedding. Like, I just blocked it, completely blocked it. And they say, I don't know what anybody's beliefs are, but they say God gives you what you need, not what you want. And when I was pregnant, I wanted to have a little boy because I was like, had this terrible relationship with my mom. And I just thought, I just need to have a boy. And when I found out my daughter was a girl, I was like, I was terrified of how this relationship, I mean, I couldn't imagine being like my mom, but it was just this thing in my head. And when I was about 6 months pregnant with my son. So my daughter wasn't even 2 years old yet. And I had gone home. And I was at my best friend Jamie's house, and she has 3 daughters. And my stepdad was there. He had driven me to my best friend's house. She was going to take me to the airport later that day. And he was playing with her little girls, like talking to them, just like normally that would have been totally fine in my head because I'd pushed this down for God knows how many, years. And all of a sudden, everything that happened to me, I just imagined if it happened to my daughter. And I had a full-on panic attack. It was the first time I'd ever experienced a panic attack. I couldn't breathe. My heart was racing. I just wanted him to stop talking to her kids. I wanted it to stop. I didn't understand what was going on. And went back to LA and went immediately to a therapist. It was the first time I'd ever went to a therapist.
Really?
It was the first time I'd said out loud, like, some of the things that had happened to me. And yeah, then they encouraged me to, how to like navigate that relationship ending. And I wrote an email and basically just told him everything that had happened with his dad. He didn't know, and just cut off the relationship. And that was almost 14 years ago about 13 years ago.
What was his response?
He responded with an email. I don't remember exactly what it says. Nothing would have been good enough, but I remember thinking like, wow, this wasn't even close to like good enough. I mean, he admitted everything and talked about, some of the shame and feelings that he had since it happened, but I don't have the emails anymore. I deleted them after a certain point. I just didn't want that energy even on my computer. But yeah, that was the first time. My daughter definitely was a girl for a reason, and she saved me because that was the first. That was that got me into therapy, and that got me to say out loud what had happened and like actually like deal with it.
Do you think you would have died without your daughter?
I think I probably, yeah, I think I would have. I think I probably would have at some point been so strung out on drugs that I probably would have ended up overdosing at a point. There was a time in my 20s that I was very hooked. And I was self-medicating, and I thought I was fine. I didn't understand what self-medicating. I mean, at the time, I didn't even know. It was like shortly after I moved to LA, I got into cocaine and meth. I did a lot of I mean, it was never like to the point, nobody knew because I was so good at hiding it.
Wow.
But I think, had I not turned my life around, it wasn't just my daughter. Like, I had a good friend who pulled me to the side at one point and was like, what are you doing? Like, you came out here, you're beautiful. You came out here to model, to do all these things, and I see you fucking off like auditions, and you're missing jobs, and you don't have your shit together anymore. And I was like, what a hypocrite, because this person was partying like right alongside with me. But that's all it took. And I moved out, and I like cleaned up I went to a hotel, checked myself into a hotel, like a seedy hotel. And I dropped to my knees and prayed out loud for like, it could have been 5 minutes. It could have been an hour. I don't remember. I just remember sobbing and falling to my knees and begging God, please just help me not go back to what I was doing. And I never went to rehab, nothing. It just changed. And shortly after that, like I came clean to all my friends, told them like what I'd been doing. I had been dating this guy like off and on for like a few years, like the whole time basically. But he was like traveling a lot. And so he's like, I always knew there was something with you, but I couldn't put my finger on it because I was very good at hiding it. And that person helped me. He like got me a computer. He helped me get into my own apartment. From the computer, I was able to get a job like at a doctor's office. I was like a secretary, and I just normalized my life. So I never had to go back. It would have been very easy to go back moving in with the roommates that I had, partying all the time. Had this person not like stuck by my side and helped me like kind of get on my feet. And then about 2 years after that life change, that's when I met my ex-husband. And that's when, so I was already, I was clean and sober and everything before I got into a relationship, before I got pregnant with my daughter. But she definitely has changed. Had I never gotten therapy or started therapy for all the things, I maybe would still be suppressing it. Maybe this stepdad would still be in my life. Maybe I still would be thinking it was, it was okay. I wanted a dad so bad that I just completely blocked it and just pretended like it never happened.
It was easier to do that than
to deal with it.
Deal with it. The fact that you managed to get sober by yourself is insanely strong.
Yeah.
That is insane.
There was a time, right when I had stopped partying, I went to the emergency room at one point because I wanted to get information about rehabs. But like, it's so hard to get into a rehab. There was like a month waiting list, and I know myself. I was like, if I've been clean and sober for a month, I'm not going to need it. Like,
wow.
I just knew. I knew that I wanted to stop. I'd been shamed by my best friend. He was like, "You're a loser," and I couldn't believe it. And then a year later, he came and he said to me, "I had to do that. I wasn't I didn't mean it." He's like, "But I had to do it. I couldn't watch you like throw your life away like that."
The only reason I'm very close to people who have dealt with addiction and things like that, and I like it's a disease. This totally is, and if you've seen it and been around it and know it, it is a disease. It really gets inside the brain of the individual, and it makes their life decisions and choices completely go off kilter. And especially if you're trying to cover up because of emotions and things like that, it's very hard to get out of it without help.
Yeah.
And I know a couple of people who have done it by themselves, and they are strong. So I already realized you're strong, but you are off the chart. Truly. Because you need to have that brain and that willpower to go, this is where I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Yeah. Especially with all that memory and all the hurt and all the trauma you're dealing with as well. Because the easiest thing is to go back.
At that point, I hadn't even thought about what I was doing. Like at that point, I still hadn't.
Because there's nothing to pull you out.
Put 2 and 2 together like, oh, I'm self-medicating because I was still 2 years away from even admitting that, I'd had this terrible past in my childhood. For me, it was like I was just having fun and I was shutting off the world. But at the time I wasn't thinking, I thought I was just having fun. But when my friend was like, "You're a loser," I guess I'm stubborn. I was like, "No, I'm not.
No, I'm fucking not.
No, well, watch me.
Watch me not.
I'll show you not. I'll show you. I'm not going to be a crackhead anymore. How about that?" Showed him.
Man,
I didn't smoke crack. I don't know why I feel like not that meth is any better. But it definitely was not crack. Don't call me a crackhead.
Just saying, I did meth, but I didn't do crack.
Did not do crack. Well, maybe once, but it wasn't on purpose. I thought it was meth. Seems like a lifetime ago.
I can imagine, yeah. I heard that you were working like 3 jobs, or just working. You were a cleaner. You were doing all these different things, and then this opportunity came around to go on this TV show.
Selling Sunset.
Yeah.
So, well, not in that exact total order, but after my divorce, yes, I had only been a cocktail waitress and a model. and I had gone to school for a handful of years for interior design.
Yeah.
But when I moved to LA, there was a few years in my life that I was a little blurry. And then I got married and then had kids. And then, you know, I got a divorce. So I hadn't had a lot of work experience, like other than cocktail waitressing and modeling. So I hadn't done anything with my interior design. And then my dear friend Jason Oppenheim had started this brokerage, the Oppenheim Group. And he, you know, Selling Sunset wasn't even on the radar at the time. And so I was walking dogs. I was trying to nanny other people's kids. Nobody would hire me as a nanny. And I was like, you can't. You know, I was like, maybe I'll find like a cool lesbian couple and they'll hire me, or like a cool single dad, because like nobody that was married was hiring like the hot nanny.
No.
And I got it because when I was looking for a nanny when I was married, I was like, if she doesn't weigh 500 pounds and she's not at least like 50, like that seemed so old at the time. 50, Jesus Christ. At the time, it seemed like ancient.
I know now.
Damn.
It's actually young. I think it's young.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
so young.
I hope so, because I'm almost 50. But so I got it. But so I was trying to nanny. I was walking dogs. I was working retail, and I was the house cleaner. And I think I made the most money cleaning houses, but it made me feel worse about myself.
Why?
Because I hadn't cleaned my own house in like 8 years, and I was like suddenly scrubbing toilets, and I was like, fuck, this just makes me, my mental health. I was aware that my mental health was the most important. Yeah. And I was like, I don't care if they're going to pay me $500 today to clean this house. Like I would rather
can't do this.
Be broke today.
Yeah.
And so Jason, it took a minute before he gave me my first opportunity as a stager. He finally gave me, I started an LLC called Kidterior Design at one point, because I thought, well, if I do kid rooms, it'll separate me from like all the big interior designers.
That's smart. That's entrepreneurial. It's very good.
Yeah, because people, like a lot of people don't like to work with kids, which is freaking bizarre to me. I love kids. So I started doing kid rooms. I did like maybe 3 nurseries. It was like, I charged like $400. It was costing me more to like decorate the house. But I started an LLC and I thought I was a businesswoman. I got business cards made and I like spelled everything wrong. And Mary was like, you suck. I had to like send them back and get them. She's like, you have to put a comma between the city and the state. I'm like, I'm an artist. It doesn't matter.
Hey, whatever.
It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. I spelled my address wrong. So I did like 3 kid rooms, and then Jason gave me the opportunity to stage one of his listings at his new brokerage, and it was like a 5,000 square foot house, and I think they had like a $10,000 budget, and I had to stage this whole thing. So they had some furniture. I went to IKEA and got like a sofa, and like these people didn't even know the house sold fully furnished.
Are you serious? Wait, hang on. So it was a 5,000 square foot house.
Yes.
And they had a £10,000 budget.
Yes.
Which is
nothing. And they had little sprinkles of like, they had like some lamps and a couple rugs, and like some of the bedrooms had beds. But I mean, I'd made connections with my friends like at different furniture stores and things like that, because I just loved to go and like look at furniture and chandeliers and like lighting and rugs all the time. When I was supposed to be doing other things, that's what I would want to do. So long story long, Jason gave me the opportunity to stage this house, and it sold fully furnished. So then he brought me on to the Oppenheim Group as the interior design specialist. Wow. So I started staging a lot of their listings. And then fast forward, I mean, there was many years went by before Selling Sunset. So it wasn't exactly like that. But I had just gone through a breakup. I was with somebody for 5 years, and I had broken up. We had broken up. And so I kind of felt like I was starting over, you know, and I did Deal or No Deal. I know you guys have it here. It's a little bit different than it was in the States.
Because you would just open up the box. Is that the face?
Amanza, open your case. Yeah, it was like this.
Go on.
And I don't know why, but if there was a montage of every time I open my case, my mouth open with it. It's so ridiculous.
So I'm going to announce it. Okay. So Amanza, open your case.
It's so fucking cheesy. It was just like, because you can't talk if you don't have a microphone and that you don't always get mic'd. Like, you're lucky if you get mic'd.
Oh wow, it's a
If
big
you're
day.
mic'd, you better be ready too, because you got to pay attention. And like, say this guy's you're the contestant, and you're saving up all your money for a sweet factory because you want to start vegan kitten
there
snacks. And I'm like, well, it's your lucky day, and I hope that you get to, start your vegan. Let's see if you can start your vegan kitten snack company.
Why?
Because you gotta peek.
Why
you gotta peek. You
Why do you peek? It's not.
you peek.
Why do you peek?
Because you need to know what
fuck,
reaction to make.
up.
But my reaction was the same no matter what. Terrible. Now somebody's gonna make a montage and it's just gonna be like
You gotta peek so you know the reaction. Even if it's
no matter what, the $1,500,000, $75, $1, my mouth is open. Awful.
Can you just change your reaction a little bit?
I don't know. It's just so automatic. I can't change it now. It's almost like
it's like you're stuck.
Anytime I open anything, my mouth just opens.
Even letters.
Yeah. I'm opening green beans.
I did when you opened the door.
So it came around twice. I did Deal or No Deal the first time.
Oh God!
When it was,
couldn't believe your luck when it came around.
I had Botox the second time. I was like, it was harder. My facial expressions.
There was no expression.
10 years later, I'm like,
Oh God.
So the girls and Jason and Brett, they had started this brokerage, and I was there all the time because I would just go, I was staging houses, didn't have a real estate license. I would just go plop down on the couch around lunchtime when Jason was taking everybody to lunch, and I would go hang out. And then they said that they were, going to do this reality show. And I was like, I'm going to let you guys test that out.
You said no, right?
Well, I wasn't a real estate agent yet. And I was doing Deal or No Deal at the same time. So I kind of I would have probably done it had I not.
Why were you nervous about it?
Because it was a reality show. You never know how it's going to go. Yeah. It was their first season. But I was filming. So I came back, and their season aired, and it did really well, and they got picked up for another season. And so Jason's like, you need to get your real estate license so that you can, well, first he was like, you need to get your real estate license so you can just start making more money. So you don't have to borrow money from me all the time, basically. So I did. And then they put me on the second season because they got picked up for the second season. And now we've just finished season 9.
It's crazy.
We just finished filming season 9. Yeah.
If anyone, if you haven't heard of it or seen it, it's crazy. But it's like this. It's a global success. People are obsessed with you guys. In the, everyone in the office was couldn't be more excited that you were arriving. People were waiting outside the window for you to arrive. It's crazy. But you're right. It's one of those things with reality TV where it's daunting to do, but then you kind of have to give over quite a lot to it. And it becomes competitive.
Yeah, I guess. Within the show?
Yeah, within the show. Does that happen like that or no?
I'm not. I feel like I'm a little bit different. I'm definitely not knocking down any of the other girls to sell most houses. I think you've seen me sell 2 houses.
Killing
it. I've definitely been about the aesthetic. I enjoyed the fact that I was able to be the stager and the interior decorator, and now the artist. So this season, it'll be interesting.
In this conversation, right? You can ask me anything, and likewise all around. If I step over the mark, you can just tell me to fuck off.
Yeah.
All right.
There's no mark.
Okay, fine.
There's no mark. I'm an open book.
I'm an open book as well. Totally open. Why did you stop talking to your mum?
It just was. It never ended well. It's I never got maybe what I was looking for. It was just always a negative experience.
Really?
And it's been that way. Like we've never had a great relationship. From my childhood, like she was and she's still alive. I don't know that she'll watch this, but she's a very like, and only to me, she's like miserably angry. It's like she was very hostile. She was very physically and emotionally abusive, like growing up. She's just mean. Like she was just mean to me. And so it just never changed. Like it never changed when I got older. Every experience on the telephone, even living in Los Angeles, it just would always be devastating. And so a friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, pointed out a few years ago, she's like, I'm in my 40s, and she's like, every time you speak to your mom, it like guts you. Like it literally just would like put me in this mood no matter what. It's like we never had a positive experience. Like she's just bitter. And so I just decided at one point, after like a really negative phone call like interaction, I was like, I'm just not going to talk to her anymore. Like I'm a mom. She's a mom. I feel like we're like equal at this point.
Yeah.
I never felt like really her daughter. And I know, I'm doing a really good job raising my kids, and I want to be positive, and this is never a positive experience. And I just decided to cut her off. And she was not like she was pinging my phone and trying to, ringing my phone, and I was having to ignore it. I just didn't speak to her for, it was like, a couple of years.
Wow, and then just days goes into weeks, and then weeks into months, and then it's suddenly
it was like right before a friend's, actually Heather, she used to be on our show. It was right before her and Tarek's wedding, and I was having some like emotional like anxiety, some depression problems at the time anyway, and I don't remember the exact conversation, but it floored me. Like I literally fell to the floor sobbing when I got off the phone with her. And I didn't go to their wedding. Like I was really in a dark place for like a couple of days. And so I remembered when it was their year anniversary, like they were posting about it. And I was like, damn, it's been a year since I talked to my mom. And then it was 2 years, like the year after they got married was then another anniversary that they had like posted about. I was like, so that's how I like could gauge, because it was right before their wedding, how long it had been. And it had been a couple years.
God, it's tough. It doesn't, whatever relationship, good, bad, ugly, whatever is you have with your parents, they sort of still remain like a mum or a dad or something. And so it's kind of hard to get past that sometimes, isn't it?
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one, yeah.
My kids now don't have their dad. And I was talking to my son recently about, growing up. He's about to be 14. So raising a teenage boy, or trying to raise a teenage boy as a single mom.
Yeah.
With a dad that just left, like out of the blue. It's
crazy.
Pretty shitty, And so one of the things that my son and I I don't know what took me so long to kind of put this into perspective, but I was like, wait, I don't have a mom. Like, I know what that feels like to want to have a parent who is alive and is somewhere, and you don't. And I was like, it doesn't really get easier. And so I kind of have that, not that it's the greatest thing to relate to with my son, but I was like, at 48 years old, know what it feels like to not have a parent. Like, I want a mommy, you want a daddy. Like, we had this over the summer, like a lot of conversations, and I often have to remind him that, he's not alone in like the way he feels. Like, I understand it.
Man, you're like a superhero. You are, because it's like so much to go through, and then also be a single parent. How do you process emotions? Do you, in terms of like, do you hold on to do you never forget, or do you forget? Can you forgive? Do you not forgive? How do you work it?
I forget everything.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I remember, obviously I'm able to tell the story, but I think deep down it's there, but I can't like ponder on. There's been so many crazy things that have happened to me. I would be a miserable stump if I sat and just like remembered everything. I let go. I do forgive. That took me a long time.
That's
It took
great.
me a long time to understand what forgiveness
Yeah.
meant. Like how I would always hear, forgiveness is for you, it's not for them. And I did not understand that for the longest time. I actually went to trauma camp. Like, it's probably been like 8 years ago.
Wow.
It's not called trauma camp, but that's what
That's
I've
what you
coined
call
it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like rehab for people with trauma.
Yeah.
And it was this week-long experience in Nashville, Tennessee,
Yeah.
where you like surrender your iPad, your phones, like there's no communication to the outside world. And they put you in these groups and you have intense trauma therapy every day, to the point that like 2 days before they release you back into the world, they sort of like help you understand what it's going to be like now that you're so open.
Wow.
It was beautiful. It was called On Site. I would go again. I mean, they
Yeah.
have many different programs. And it was, so I call it trauma camp. But at trauma camp is when I really finally understood forgiveness. It's confusing
Yeah, it is.
to be like, oh, because it feels like, oh, if I forgive, then that means it was okay. But that's not it. And once I learned what that meant and I really understood it, it's so freeing. I've forgiven pretty much everybody at this point. I
Man,
think
that's
there's
powerful.
maybe one thing that I might still kind of be hanging on to, but we're almost there.
If someone's listening now and they're going through stuff or have been through stuff, right? Because there's always there's amazing saying which is from Nelson Mandela, which he said, seeking revenge is like drinking poison and wanting the other person to die.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. I didn't know who said it.
Yeah, only hurts yourself. And that's why you need to try and learn to forgive. Otherwise, it just eats you up the whole time. So for someone listening, what would you say to someone who is finding it hard to forgive?
I mean, look, it's really hard to understand. I don't even really know how to explain it.
Mm.
But once you can get it, it literally is like a weight. Like the people that I've forgiven, I recently forgave. I mean, this is like a kind of a new thing. Like within the past 2 years, like I forgave my mom. We don't have a relationship, but we had a very tumultuous relationship. And still to this day, if I tried, it just would always end up in heartbreak. And so forgiving her, and it was as simple as literally sending her a message out of the blue after not speaking for a couple of years and just saying, I don't need to have a conversation about this, but I forgive you and I love you. And it was like one simple text, and it felt like my world opened up. Like literally good things started happening almost immediately.
Wow.
It just feels, and I mean it. Like you have to mean it.
Yeah.
I've said it, I've tried it before, like, oh, I forgive. And it wasn't quite like in there, but like I really, really, truly mean it. I just forgive. And I don't, like I said, I don't know how to explain it. But if somebody can really like maybe look into it, read about it, and try to understand what it means to forgive for yourself, not for the other person, it is life-changing.
There is, I mean, you've had some really big moments with like filming, right? Like there's so many big things. And I suppose like the biggest one that I sort of thought was wild was your illness that you had. What happened? It was something in your spine,
Yeah.
right?
So the craziest thing, it was like I was at Mary's house one night, completely fine.
Totally fine.
Totally fine.
Jesus.
They had just moved into their new house, actually, she and Romaine, and we were like, I was walking around, I was like showing her how I would decorate, I was giving her like tips, walking around completely fine, totally mobile. I wake up the next day and I go to step out of bed and I can't step. Like my back is in so much pain, I can't move. And so I get back into the bed. I called off work. Like we were still filming. And so there was like some interviews that I had missed. I had to get a doctor to come over to the house to like, cause we were wrapping up the season and they were like, we have to get you in to film. And I was like, you don't understand. Like I literally can't sit up. And it was weird. This went on for like a few weeks.
What?
It was like, I kind of could tiptoe to the bathroom.
It's just painful. So painful.
Really, really painful. And it would kind of come and not go, but it would ease up and it would get worse for a few weeks until finally I went to the emergency room, like a month. now. So I go to the emergency room the first time, and they did an MRI. I was there 12 hours. Like, they couldn't even hardly get me to lay on the MRI machine because it was so painful. But after finally 12 hours and they did an MRI, they told me I was having a back spasm. So they showed me the MRI. They said, you're having a back spasm. It looks like you have some lower back arthritis. They sent me home with muscle relaxers, steroids, and like very strong ibuprofen. A month later, it had gotten so increasingly worse. I couldn't, like, I literally was screaming in pain, like biting the pillow on the sofa, crying in pain. Like, my kids would go to bed, I would hold it like all day because I didn't want them to see how much pain I was in because it was terrifying. And one of my best friends, her name's Diane, she came over one day and she was like, I don't, like, this isn't right. Like, she's the one that took me to the emergency room. But she was like, this isn't right. Like, I've never seen somebody in so much pain. If you're not ready to go by 9:30 tomorrow morning, I'm calling the ambulance. Like, you've got to go to the hospital. She took me to the hospital the next day. And thank God, because they told me 24 to 48 more hours at home and I would have been dead. I had a blood infection that was going all through my body. It was very close to my heart. It had turned into what's called osteomyelitis. And that's when it attacks bone, and it was sitting on my vertebrae and my hip joint, and it was deteriorating my vertebrae. So that was the pain. My bone was just being deteriorated like a penny in acid.
Yeah.
And so they admitted me immediately. I was in the hospital for 31 days.
Get out of here.
I had 2 major spine surgeries. I had blood transfusions. I had like a severe allergic reaction to one of the medications at one point. My fever went to 105. My blood pressure dropped. My heart skyrocketed. Like, I almost didn't make it. And I just thought I was having a back spasm. So now I am a superhero. I literally have a titanium vertebrae, and I have 2 rods and like 7 or 8 screws in my back.
Where does it come from, this?
No clue. They said a lot of times it's from people like older people that have dialysis, like deep intravenous like medication. And no, I'm not a drug user. Like, because there's Reddit like reports that are like, she was just doing like intravenous drugs. No. It's like something usually deep, like needles. Like, you can get, it's not like you drink bad water in another country, or you step on, because I was like, I've gotten tattoos. Could it be that? I've had like IV drips. Vitamin drips. Could it be that? No. Like, they honestly, I was like one of 2 patients that were as young as me at Cedars-Sinai Hospital that had anything close to this, like on the spine, that severe. So
that is wild.
It's just a mystery. To me, it was like, sounds really fucked up, but it was like, I came out of that hospital and I was with a new view on life.
Like what? Give it to me.
Just like, whatever it is that I want to do, I'm going to try, because I'm supposed to be here. I didn't fucking die. And I've got shit to do. And I came out, and when I came out of the hospital, 31 days, I still had a PICC line in my arm of IV drugs that went through like a main vein, and then it dropped right into my heart, an IV bag that they came and they changed every 24 hours for 3 weeks. And then I was in oral antibiotics for 6 months still after that. So my body was like shot. I mean, I had so much medicine at one point going through me. But I started painting again, because that was like something that I could do with my right hand as I was healing at home. And that's when, all of the art stuff started.
Do you think do you think there's a weird way that life works where everything kind of happens for a reason?
Yes.
You do?
So much so that I feel like, this is going to sound really fucked up too, but I feel like my kid's father had to disappear for me to realize my full potential and to really go for it and try my best at everything that I do. Because I feel like if he had stayed, or if he were still here, every other week I had a break, and I wasn't like going and pounding the pavement and like doing the most on the week that he had the kids. I was like relaxing. I would go out with my friends. I took that as like my break, as like I deserved this like week-long break. And when he disappeared, I don't have a choice. Like I can't fail. I'm all they have. Like I have to succeed because I'm it. Like we don't have family. I don't, I've spoken about my mom. I don't have like a close relationship with, I have sisters, but even them I met later in life. Like I don't have, there's no legacy around
it's
me.
Just
it's
you.
me.
It's you.
And so I feel like that was one thing. And then I almost died in the hospital and I didn't. And I think that it's just, talk about stubborn. Like that's what has to happen for me to,
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like, I think that everything happens for a reason. And
do you know why your partner just left?
I don't. We were divorced since the kids were 1 and 2. But for 7 years, we did co-parenting perfectly. I mean, he was a great dad. He went to all of their sporting events. He was great with their academics. They were always on time, something that I'm not so great at. He kept them well fed, well dressed. Like he was a very hands-on, really good dad. I have no idea. I mean, he filed a paper to the courts explaining that he had some mental health issues from football, like concussions and stuff, but it wasn't that bad. So I don't know. I really don't know. But it's been 5 years. August 26th, 2019 was a Monday. He dropped him off at school and we haven't seen him since.
I'm so sorry, man. Like I'm sorry that you that's really hard because also how do you communicate that to the kids,
The only thing that I could think to do was to tell them that sometimes your brain gets sick. Also, is like your body gets sick. Sometimes your brain gets sick. I mean, they were 9 and 7 at
That's
the time.
a great way to do it.
And so I bought a book called When the Brain Breaks and explained to them that I think Daddy's brain is sick and maybe he's taking time to heal his brain so that he can come back and be the daddy that we've always known and loved. That was the hope at first, but then months turned into years. And then, the next thing you know, it's been 5 years. So those questions stopped. Like they're smart and then they're very resilient. To be honest with you, I think that sometimes it affects me more than them.
Sure,
because as a parent, you take on like, they must be feeling this. They must be feeling that.
Especially when you feel everything, right? Which you do.
Yeah.
If you feel it like so much, you feel everything.
Yeah.
I've chatted to a lot of people and your life is unique in kind of an amazing way.
Yeah, thank you. It does sound like a lot when, I don't often talk about it all together. But yeah, I'll write a book one day. Maybe there'll be a movie.
You need to do that. I'm not even kidding. You need to do that. And if someone's listening now and they're thinking they adore you, and how can people buy your art or be a part of that journey?
Yeah. So right now I have an entire collection at Grove Gallery in Fitzrovia. And then in Los Angeles at MASH Gallery in West Hollywood. I think there's still a couple pieces, and I'll be funneling pieces through both of those galleries. Well, hopefully the one here more.
Yeah.
This was my first exhibit here. And then I'm also going to Spain. I leave for Spain tomorrow. I'm going to Mallorca, and in Parma, there's an opening of Grove Gallery there.
Wow.
And so there's, I don't know how many pieces they have there, but we're doing an exhibit with 2 other artists that are represented by Grove Gallery on the 30th.
It's amazing because I know people listening to this, they're going to hear your story and want to even connect even more. And then and with artists as well, when you can connect with that even more, you don't just buy the art, you buy everything, the journey, the history, the story, you buy everything behind it. That's what's so beautiful about it.
It's really cool. This art thing is like so cool, and it feels like the dream that I never knew that I had.
Amazing.
And now I can't. Now I just want to keep like going and see like where it takes me. I'm an artist.
I'm an artist. I'm just gonna float around, let it take me wherever. I've enjoyed literally every single bit about it. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
You're a complete rock star, honestly, in every way. We have a quick fire question. How we like to end the interview. You ready for this? Okay.
I think so.
Okay, here we go. What's a saying or phrase that makes you smile or cheers you up?
Wait, see, okay. I'm a little bit like slow.
Sorry about that.
What's a saying or phrase that makes me smile?
That makes you smile or cheers you up. Can be anything.
Fuck off to the top of fuck off mountain. I love it. Fuck right off.
Best compliment anyone's ever given you?
That I'm a good mother.
What scares you most about yourself?
Well, I don't want to say it out loud because then I feel, but you asked me, so I have to.
You don't have to.
No, my extreme ability to self-sabotage.
When was the last time you cried?
2 days ago.
What was it about?
But it was happy.
That's a good one.
Oh, and then there was a sad. I cried because my son and I had like a negative interaction and I'm so far away.
What's something you can't let go of? Or maybe you can let go of everything.
I don't, so far, nothing really.
Nothing?
I don't think.
That's a good answer.
Hold on. The fact that my kid's dad bounced. I haven't let go of that yet. I just kind of like shoved it over there for a second. But it's still there. Yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Sweets. Not vegan cat treats.
You're going to like those, trust me.
But
like
Oreo cookies.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
I'll eat the whole bag.
What turns you off?
Bad fashion.
What turns you on?
Good fashion. Like you could be ugly as a toe, but if you dress right.
Okay. What do you like most about yourself?
My sense of humor.
Yeah, it's great. And the final one, your favorite swear word.
Fuck.
There we go. Amanza, this has been a joy. Your energy is amazing. You're a complete rock star. This has been great. Thank you so much for coming. You're insane.
Thank
Honestly,
you for having me.
You were the greatest.